And we're back with an Ork matchup tier list, post-Dataslate. Let's talk about the Ork matchups, which big gets to look out for, the beakies we got to crump, and who we got to worry about getting stuck in with. Well, that's nobody, because we the wall. Now, boys, we're going to go over the Ork factions. We're going to go over every faction that the Orks are going to be facing, post-Dataslate, give our analysis, things you got to look out for, combos that will work into them, pros and cons of the matchup, who's the hardest and the weakest. And then from there, we'll reevaluate the list, look at the chat in between everything that we're discussing. So if you disagree with us, get loud, try to disagree with me. I love to argue with you. And then we'll go back into it. You can change our minds. You can influence it possibly. But first things first, Wicked Joe with 5 gifted wall membership. Let's go. Very generous get. Oh, so any of you guys, Mr. Daniel sitting in there like a little pink homie, time for to join the Great WAAAGH because Wicked Joe. All right, everybody. So, like I said, we're going to be going over every faction. I got them right here. They got their little icons and their names. That way you guys can actually see if you're not familiar with the actual factions by their little artwork, right? So, first things first, let's start with some of the not as intimidating matchups. How about that? With some of the runts, huh? So going first, what do you think, Chris? Who do you think you're going to start with here?
I think you haven't seen them much, but I'd probably start with GSC.
GSC, you want to bring them back?
Orks, I think they're a runt.
No, they are. Okay, so let's talk about why they are a runt matchup for now, right? The reason why they're an runt matchup is after they took all the nerfs early in the edition, they were very intimidating, coming off the table, doing a buttload of damage. Pretty cheap, regenning instantly. Then they took nerfs. They can't regen instantly, things that they want to regen. They don't have as much damage output because of that, because they can be dwindled down. And Orks are a straight up pressure army. We go forward. We have units that can run forward very quickly. We're advancing and charging. If you diminish our units, we'll kill you. We're inside transports, so you have to pop our transports and then kill us. If you're not gone, then we end up killing you. And in that sense, they just don't really have any direct answers for us anymore. And that's not something you're really going to be looking out for. And all things in being said, there's not that many GSC players, and they're just, you have to be really, really high skill level to do them correctly. So just getting them out the way, it was good Christian did that. But let's just talk about maybe what people want to disagree or not. But Chaos Demons is another runt, in my opinion, in most ways. Yeah, there are archetypes we could discuss. How about you discuss your favorite archetype of demons?
I think
they're the exception. I'll acknowledge that this archetype we're going to discuss is not a runt necessarily, but the faction as a whole is. So how about that, Chris? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think you really have to separate demons from like mono Khorne, because mono Khorne is probably the hardest matchup for Orks, because those guys have put so many mortals into you. You're 5-up invul, and it just isn't going to make a difference.
They counter making the pressure as well, right? Because of their being able to ingress so
they can
regularly.
also redeploy.
They can redeploy regularly. They're fast in some ways.
Yeah.
They have big greater demons that are punched super hard that you can't necessarily slow down with your typical anvil unit, like a Maz reliably.
The good thing about demons though was that your AP is irrelevant.
Yeah.
So they're always
We love that.
So boys / beast nega boys will actually feast in that matchup.
Yeah, boys and stuff like that. It comes down to what do you have? You're running a bunch of squigs. You know, you really do great into a lot of their data sheets as well. If you have enough board control, then their real deploy is not as powerful. They have no shooting. So if you're smart enough to run Storm Boys forward and Bikers and Grots forward, then you can just start absorbing some of these charges. So it does come down to the player operate as well. But Chaos Demons are not something you should be necessarily fearful of.
So I think
as long as you're building your list.
We do have the Khorne Demon one down there, and we can actually throw that one at the bottom of the list.
We have we actually do have a Khorne Demon
one. I think we should
put
them over in like harder.
I'm gonna leave it here. We're not gonna put that. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We'll get to it when we get to that one, because I still want to talk about some of the runs. So another one of the runs is
T-Sons?
Yeah. I think one of the Sandy Boys.
I think the way their lists are now, where it's like 11 characters and like just some Marines. And like at the end of the day, T-Sons is basically just Marine bodies, and Orks feast on Marine bodies.
Rubrics, and
they don't have armor contempt, so
no. They also, Magnus is intimidating for Orks. It can be tough, but all in all, you can work around him, kill everything else. They're not doing enough damage reliably. They can still throttle until kill you when they want to, but between how much stuff we have and how soft they are, they're getting crumped on. So we're gonna have to just say that
and Magnus can only kill one thing. In each phase, so.
They didn't get an increase. They were when the edition started, it was pretty close. Orcs still had a slight advantage, and then as they've been slowly getting weaker and weaker, it's just they're just not where
I think
they need
the
to be.
big point with the T-Sense change was the free stratagem change, because T-Sense used to spam free strats.
That's true. That's
Now
true.
they can only spam like one of their own strats. It's like the reroll hits and wounds, and they were doing that every turn anyways. So they're losing out on a lot of like damage output because of that change. Just the wording of the free strats.
Talking about wording and changes, I think someone else is a runt here that I know is going to hurt your heart, but I'm not sure if you want to disagree. The World Eaters.
I think they go kind of easy. I don't think they go runt status.
I'm going to say runt. Chat, you can disagree. This is in no order. We'll go back and order operate these. I really think not only did the math show and all the stats that we go over that they were one of our easier matchups on paper, but all the different changes they've taken, and they're not reliably bringing Angron back, which was one of the biggest things we hated as Orc players. That where you're like, oh, I took that get down, and then he fought on death, he died, he came back, he could swing a game like that. That's gone. I'm not sure if their new archetypes are going to swing it enough. The pressure they would put us on with their most expensive, units is one thing, and I'm not sure what you think's going to happen. Why they should be anything but an easiest matchup, but I'm putting them. They might be at the end of this. I'm willing to concede that GSC be the worst for sure. Like I'm willing for this kind of to be the way it's ordered, but I'm keeping them as kind of easy, the easiest or easier runts status. If you guys disagree, Chris, you guys can swing it because me and Chris are both disagreeing on this, but I'm gonna move over to the Gits, right? These are boys that can beat you.
What about Blood Angels though? You think?
Oh, did I put Blood Angels? Oh, did I forget my Blood Angels?
World Eaters are
oh,
you,
oh, you just brought it back. No, I don't. I think Blood Angels are actually a bit easier.
Right there in the
for
middle.
sure. So where are they? Oh, they're right here. Yeah, I dropped them earlier. Yeah,
I think
actually,
they can go behind thousands on honestly.
Yeah, I do. I think so. Not only are there,
the one thing Blood Angels have, if they use real attachment, is they have a natural fight on death like Orks. But they just don't hit that hard.
Well, and
if
you're talking about their actual, detachment rule, now that it got increased +2 strength, that does put them over different boundary lines for Orcs that just put them different wound brackets. It's horrible for us. You can take Chainsword to strength 6 against our T5. You can take the Power Fist, put them to strength 10. You do have to be aware of all those things, but Space Marines are just running out of trades. Your reliable fight on death is more annoying and reliable than theirs. And we just have more stuff than them. We're still playing the mission better than them. And they could be good as a whole. They could still be played, but like all of 40k, any of these armies can beat you. Can any of these people beat you? Probably, besides maybe Gene Stealers. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. But for the most part, anybody can beat you with the right list and the right player behind it who's tried hard enough a lot of times.
I think in general, Orcs can always beat themselves because if they just call the wrong at the wrong moment, their whole game plan's out the window.
That's a good point. And you can always build a horrible Orc list and just lose to anybody.
Honestly, I went to an RTT and I had an Orc player who drew 2 secondaries that were action based, and he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna charge this turn." He looked at his card, put him down, and said, "Let me charge my flipping gargantuan squig I brought. I'm not having my gargantuan squig get area denial. He's charging to this corner objective."
It's true. Orc players don't care enough sometimes. So, well, that being said, I'm going to talk about someone who does care a lot about themselves, takes himself very seriously, the Tau Empire. I'm going to put Tau as them Gits. And the reason I say that is because with their new archetype changes, they're going to have just more stuff on the field that's going to run straight into the middle, slow you down a little bit. They can actually get more shots off because of that, because they're going to have more lines that actually delay you. They don't have Crute yet, but remember they're supposed to last throughout the edition. So if they get Crute, that might help a little bit.
They announced a bunch of the Crute
That's what I'm saying. So this is Dataslate, post-Dataslate, but I'm assuming they're going to get more screens, more stuff that could possibly countercharge if the Crute drop. We already know they're getting unit. They're going to start putting more of their transports. We already know people want to throw Pathfinders and stealth suits because they can't run around with their
a weekend ago I saw Triptide list being
That's
played.
exactly what I predicted too.
They did Triptide like 5 transports. Yeah, but I mean Triptide are good just because Triptides never have -1 to hit even through combat. They can fall back and shoot.
Yeah.
They can.
We went over this when we discussed them, and
I think it's just as good matchup into Orc, just because those guys just
and they're gonna have a bunch of stuff. They're gonna have a bunch of stuff in the way, clogging up the board. A proper Tau player could still be you if he knows good enough. Like I was like, man, Tau suck, and then I played some guy at an RTT, and then he was like, oh, my main partner plays Orcs constantly, so I just play Orcs all the time. So he exactly knew how to target priority. He gave Maz Battle Shock. He didn't win, but it was still like way harder of a game than people would expect, you know? So that being said, let's talk about another person that could beat you, but probably won't, could catch you off guard. Like people were talking about, let's just put it as straight up Space Marine Gladiators, just naked Space Marines. We'll say naked Space Marine Gladiators right now. You know, we can go ahead and probably put Ultramarines in there too. I would say, because that's their form. But do you think of Gladius, right? It's where you consider them
When I
the
think of
most?
Ultramarines more nowadays, I think of like Vanguard because
That's
everyone's
true.
running them with
That's
Uriel
true.
and
I'm not. Yeah, I don't even
and
want to put them there
infiltrating.
because we're talking about competitively. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say let's keep you guys. Anybody that you can consider goes in the Gladiators from all the different sub factions of categories of Space Marines that you prefer. Just look at this Space Marine beacon as Gladius, right? Just a straight up Army Room.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we have the Ultramarine badge over here. We're gonna use this to identify the Vanguard detachment. We got Black Templars. We got a bunch of different ones we're gonna identify. So just straight up naked bare bones Marines, maybe any kind of form Marine running just straight up Gladius. Yes, they can beat you. They have great flexibility and utility, but usually Space Marines run out of steam against us.
I think
They don't kill us
yeah.
effectively enough, and we can reliably run out and kill their scoring units when we can. So other than Vanguard, which kind of can navigate us enough to run away, right?
Yeah, I think with basic Marines, the issue is like you mentioned, they're like a variety they can do in their movement. It almost is a hindrance to the Space Marine player because they have to know exactly what to do and when. And if they do it right, they can. But it's really hard for a Marine to see 5 good strats, only have 2 CP, and know which ones are the right to use. Like you might want to use the fall back and shoot in charge, or give yourself an extra doctrine, or give yourself lance, or give yourself fight on death guaranteed. And they all sound so juicy that you have to get it right to win that game.
Yeah, especially against Orks.
Yeah.
Another one is maybe Death Watch. So on paper, I know people are like, "What Death Watch?" They do have the tools. They're
Fragstorm
weird.
cannons.
Yeah, they have weird Fragstorm cannons. The fact that they can throw Terminators in some of these units and tank units and win skirmishes in awkward ways. They're gonna bring maybe even a Corvus and they can catch you off guard and beat you. So
They
actually, off guard, they can. If you're not familiar with their rules, they actually have tools to beat you, and you are a Xenos.
They also have the once per game old fashioned Oath of Moment.
Yes,
it still works the reroll wounds because they didn't FAQ that or anything like that too. So they're probably one of the best Conline Marines just because of the little tools they have, the tricks. They do have redeploy also on the board edge, shenanigans like that. But they're a weird one because you don't see them too much.
You're just not gonna see them too much, is what I was gonna say. Yeah, where's the Dark Angel one here? What'd I do with it? I just run the Dark Angel one here.
It definitely was.
There is a Dark Angels one here.
Just scroll to the right more.
Oh, the right more. Sorry, guys. Where is he? There's Grey Knights. Sorry, I was looking at the Dark Angel. Oh, there he is, right here. Goofy. So another one I was going to say is the new Dark Angels rules. Because they got weaker, their Terminators are less effective. I threw them here in Gits as well.
Yeah, the thing is, they had a good strat where you charge them, they get -1 damage for 1 CP. Now it's -1 to wound for 2 CP. And if you call that WAAAGH with gas, -1 to wound literally does nothing.
Yeah, and I'm even putting it at the end of this. I'm intentionally. I think this is probably the order I'd put this in. That I started with. So this is where I would end this up, and we'll see how it goes going forward. Points can change.
They lost their best unit.
Yeah, I can't give a real and final analysis of this going forward because they might get a little point changes here, but they're not looking too intimidating for Orks, and they could even fall into runts. But Adeptus Mechanicus.
If you have the budget,
if someone near you
if you don't have the budget, there runs. It's sad how that Edmeg is just so like out of balance right now because you take 27 chickens, your competitive army, you take.
I was gonna say
or 15 breachers or 18 breachers, whatever it is.
Assuming you have the chickens.
Yeah. Okay. It's so silly. It's Guitari because they can do like a reactive move also. So they're one of those armies like in theory you can put them there, but in practice it's less likely for that to actually be the case.
Yeah,
what I
for
think.
Sure. Now I was gonna say, is there anything I need to say about that? No, I really don't. So I'm clearing some of these guys up so you guys can see the screen easier. But there's nothing extra to say about them Mechanicus. I haven't played against them. Do they have a lot of bodies for very cheap that they can fill up the table and do stuff with? Yeah, but they're not killing you enough. They're not playing the mission well enough. You're not worried about their profiles, even with their chickens. You can tear them down, even with diminished Orc units. I'm not willing to put them any higher than that. You could run into like an exceptional human being somewhere, but you can't base the law of generalities and averages of that. So they're going to be put right there. There might be one sniper out there that wants to destroy everybody. Come find me. All right. So the next one is there anyone else in this detachment we kind of want to say this category?
Off the top of my head, I don't think so.
No, I'm looking I think that's good.
Everything else I think is kind of
everybody
harder.
else here going forward, guys, they at least have a 50% chance to beat you. We'll say maybe a little less. How about I'd say 50. I'd say that 50% chance to beat you because Orcs can always beat themselves, but they have great combos.
The one issue I think, or one maybe faction that's like up or bottom could be Gits or Proper Lads is Stormland Space Wolves. I think
we're not there yet, but yeah, when we get to those, we're gonna as we put these, allocate
Gits or Proper Lads.
Okay, that's what. Okay, I get what you're saying. Christian did want to say Space Wolves right here, guys. Christian has considered putting them as Gits down here or Proper Lads. So let's start with them first. Proper lads. Space Wolves. Why? They're fast enough to put you on the back foot if they go first. They do have just enough guns to pop your transports for the most part. They have their scouts to get into the middle of the table.
They have the turn 1 rapid ingress.
They have the turn 1 rapid ingress. They have enormous amount of damage when they do get the charge off on you with that +1 damage. It goes over to their characters. You know, they get all kinds of different compounding effects like lethal. I believe sustain too from different characters. The issue, in my opinion, why I don't think they go any higher or what it may be is terrain is a real factor. They have gigantic bases. Flash kits can still get off on them even if they're on 6s. And as an orc player, like I say to other people, run grots up the table at them. Run storm boys and bikers. You know exactly where these guys can go. Yes, they have a crazy amount of movement, but their movement is going to go into the big lanes and where you can.
I think it's one of those matchups where it becomes easier the more you go get reps into it, because you have to play different style of orcs than you would, because you wouldn't want to leave all your tough units right away.
Yeah,
you actually want to make your own kind of screen for the Space Wolves before jumping in.
You do, and then when they do get into you or something, you want to be prepared to fight in death. That means you can't let your transport be blown up and then disembarked, and then the guys get countercharged. That means you made some errors as the orc player to not pre-anticipate his one lancer popped my one truck. You know, like you should think about that, because they don't have pistols or bolters to reach out and shoot the grots that you put in front of that, or the storm boys you put in front of that, or the bikers you autoed, the Death Killer War Trike you auto advances out there. They're going to have to run up and take charges instead, and then you can get charges off. Also, heroic interventions play a huge play. So I think when you really think about people who are playing even the max potential, you just put them here. Yeah.
If you don't accidentally shoot Space Wolves, because they'll blood surge into you.
Yeah, don't accidentally shoot them. Blood surge. Explain that before you just.
So
say
the
that.
lieutenant on one lieutenant on the Wolves. I forget what his actual name for the lieutenant. But he gives you lethal hits and he gives you a once per game blood surge.
Yeah.
Something pack leader, something like that. Wolfguard pack.
Here you go.
Battle
Read
leader.
this when you're ready.
WAAAGH, Death Watch rips gets. They're my main army. I really got many players because they never played. Yeah. Because there's a lot of tricks.
Gotcha. Many players.
Yeah.
And that's not intentionally. Like you do put it a good way. Unwittingly, it's not your fault.
Yep.
And he says he 10.
Oh shit, that was $5 super chat, by the way.
I
was just reading a random message.
Oh yeah, sorry, we got excited. We were just really focused on that.
I butchered the heck out of that wording.
He did. He's all ugly about. Christian's not used to reading that, but yeah, that was a good point. Death Watch rip gets. So you think that's a fair assessment? I think that's a fair assessment still. Like he said, he'll get wins off because he doesn't know, but once you know them and you have everything, you can kind of go hard. But yeah, thanks for that one. It's a huge. I'll leave it up there for a second.
Thank you.
But thank you. They're very generous. Super chats are exciting, and they get everything involved and bring more, answers to the table. So yeah, I'm gonna bring Space Wolves right there. Proper lads. Another one that I think is an interesting proper lad are Adeptus Sororitas.
Sisters have so many tricks because I've gone against sisters and they'll have miracle dice and they'll have
catch you off guard,
low number dice, and then you throw a silly shooting attack or a melee attack, and and it's weird because they can want to fail a save and then boom, +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and things go right, and you're like, oh fudge, like what did I just do to myself? Like sisters is almost like call an ambulance, but not for me sometimes. It's so silly. And Morphin Valves are really good too. Just real hits, real wounds on a unit that has like strength 12, d6 damage on her Paragon Warsuit buddies, and they can do ignore modifiers if they're not at full strength, so they can go into your knobs, ignore the -1 to wound, and just smash through the unit. They also have some pretty good tanks. Indirect with d6 damage, or the Cascader with 8-1 ignore cover, and usually that's enough.
It's 3 flat damage or strength 10, so it is enough for squigs or something. And you're like, oh, but I got my feel no pains. I get it, but you still don't want to get hit with those 3s.
And like I said, you chip 1 wound off. Those tanks are hitting on 2s.
Yes, sir. So it's just. It's exactly if you chip one up, they're hitting on 2.
You throw 1 swig bomb, like
exactly.
Much.
Here's a swig bomb I can reach. Oh damn it. And so they're weird where if you don't know their rules, they can catch you off guard. At the same time, it's one of those things, like I say, your diminished units can fully kill them. So if you don't chip them and you just get into there with even your storm boys,
they also have
your bikers. And they also have, of course, if they still choose to use their miracle dice to hurt you in great overwatches and such. But as a whole, right, they will swarm the board with a bunch of stuff. But orcs, we have a bunch of stuff, and you start tagging them, bagging them. And you just understanding that they have to kind of throttle multiple units to kill you, and you understand that prioritization, when to pop artist nails, when to get the counter charges off because you staged and okay, my little unit can actually fully destroy this. Let's say you take a 5-man scalpel unit, you're fully taking that guy out. And so I think it's more of a skill based thing. They can beat you because they have tricks, but They are
Any
not.
T3 army needs to be skill based.
Yeah, but you put flash kits in the perfect line of sight somewhere where you disembark them and you're overwatching these guys all over the place and the game starts to swing too. And that's, whenever I get into an army that I can flash get that on, they become more effective. It's really hard, right, for them. But another army I want to talk about with shenanigans is the Grey Knights.
Yeah, I mean, you win and lose that game in the movement phase.
Yeah, that's a very much we're playing the movement phase game. That's really what we're doing. We're playing the movement phase game, and everything else is a little bit secondary to that because you can lose just because you didn't understand the screening correctly, their re-engagement stratagems correctly, didn't understand that they're going to put this crazy amount of volume into all of your infantry and be able to pick up all your scoring units and ignore whatever else they need to sometimes.
Yeah, OC3 Terminators, that's just annoying. It's frustrating. But I think the thing with them too is they're a little proper lads more than kits they used to be, is because they actually got some actual anti-tank or anti-transport in their Dread Knights, so they can pop trucks reliably now instead of just trying to charge Terminators into trucks and just hoping 5s does it.
Yeah, I think right at this point though, I'll look at some of the chats to see if you guys want to disagree with me, because I think we're at that point with enough people watching to also see who wants to disagree and say some here, right? What's up? We'll see what you guys got to say. So Vento saying, Monster Mash is cakewalk for orcs. Whoa! I added the wall walk part, but yes, for sure, absolutely. They did get crumped, especially if you're running a typical, squigless and such, or beast snagger boys. You just start crumping them. And it feels bad. I picked up like 4 big boys in that way. What is this? You want to read this, Chris?
Looks like GW are positioned ahead of the Talbook to double down on Kroot. I always understood them to be similar to orcs, fast and mighty. Hope they don't try to do a standalone Kroot army. They did, I think, already announce a Kroot detachment. So you're gonna see at least a Kroot detachment, but that's probably gonna be similar to like how they've quote unquote fleshed out the Sisters of Silence for Custodes. It'll be a nice little niche, but it won't be anything like 2,000 points of Kroot, most likely.
No. And of course, here's Blake, your boy, my boy. He says, respect is needed for AdMag. Breaches kill a ton of things. Full rerolls coming out of their transports hurts too. Yeah, that is very nice that their little infantry can come out, get also great wounds rerolls from their disembarking small arms fire. Even in that, I'm still not super intimidated by them as an orc player. Yes, they can. If they play the perfect archetype and they're a very experienced player, can they still beat you and put some respect into you? Yes. But as a whole, for everyone who runs into AdMech, if I take 10 random AdMech players and 10 random orc players, only 2 of those AdMech players are going to win, probably. Maybe 3. You know what I mean? Like, that's how that's more likely going to go. So I'm not saying there's not archetypes that can't. I'm saying people aren't going to own them, run them, and then be good enough with them to actually beat us. But it's still you point that bring it up, because they are respected. I respect every army in 40k can still beat you. You can just not play correctly and lose. Like you're saying here, I never know if I'm doing well versus Grey Knights or not, other than the scoreboard, right? You're like, gosh, when am I actually going to play this game at 40k? I haven't killed anything yet, right? So I like to put them right there. You can definitely beat them. They hate our transports. They rely greatly on just surviving when they do get touched in Armor of Contempt. You put just enough damage into them, then they never hurt you enough later in the game, and they win, and you win. Do you think they changed much with their paladin? I mean, with their little baby carrier.
I think we'll see if their Dread Knights are enough to pull them ahead. The thing is, they're only T8, but they are 2 base save, and you can always armor contempt them. So that could.
There you go. Yeah, for orcs, it's annoying sometimes, right?
So it could swing, but the Dread Knights have flamers also, so they're 2d6, 6/1/1. If they need to overwatch, say some beast boys coming into the Dread Knights, that might ruin their day.
True, they could. What about this? Because this might change. Imperial Knights might. I mean, Grey Knights might be at the end of this. I think I'm gonna put them at the end of this just because for now, internal changing like that. But another mid proper get, I'd say, is Imperial Knights.
Yeah, and I think that's more down to like how you build your orc list itself. Yes. You can build an orc list that just runs over Imperial Knights, but you can build a cool orc list that just has nothing.
Gets run over by Imperial Knights. You could also decide I'm gonna run just a bunch of mecha dreads and a Gorkanaut and have a great time in a fun game. But chances are you probably lose that game. Or if you're just bringing, sometimes even if you're just bringing boys and trucks, I've seen people just lose straight up because of that, because they can't ever kill anything ever in the truck. I think
it matters too what kind of how many armors they bring. So if they're like,
and now they can bring more.
They can bring 1 extra.
They can bring 1 extra, and that 1 extra is enough.
We have a guy in the local meta who can bring I think he can bring 1 of the Castellan Knights and then 10 of the Baby Knights. And that list is really hard to.
Well, this is Imperial, or you're talking about
Imperial.
Okay.
Castellan, and he brings 6 of the Warglaves, 3 of the Helvrins, 1 of the Castellan, and gets enhancements, so we can redeploy the
Helvrins have just enough, damage and strength profile and AP.
Honestly, you spam the stratagem. They have It gives them +1 strength, +1 AP, brings them to strength 10, AP -2, flat 3 damage. That feeds.
Yes.
That's just.
I know.
That's
That's what I'm saying. They have just enough that they just feeds on Orcs that it's a problem.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's one person. Like he said, that's one person in the meta. But we still think they're proper lads for that reason. They're still up here where they can catch you
Canis
up.
Rex
they
is
can
just a menace.
He's a menace, boy. And he's a good point. So I think Imperial Knights are right in there. You do have to be prepared. If you're playing a meta list, you have the tools to beat them. But if they're playing their most meta list, then it comes down to you guys each as careless, as generals of your armies. So then we have, what's another one that I want to talk about for generalship of the army? How about boys that got nerfed? How about these Chaos Marines?
See, this is one of those matchups. I don't know if they belong here just because I don't know what they look like nowadays. But they used to be like super hard. But this is, I think, is a fair assessment because if people just go with Abaddon bricks, I think Orcs can kind of punch through Abaddon bricks. Because they're only going to focus on one spot. They're going to be slow. They're not going to be fast moving. They're not going to be, the range shooting isn't going to be nearly as good. And they're not going to have as many units on the table. They're not going to have 3 units in a rhinos just running all over the place.
It's one of those things where you go and kill their scoring units and you just kind of ignore their Abaddon kind of star if you can on most missions. And if you really, really have to go into it, you just bring 2 different of your pretty much 2 of your own suicide super punchy waves and you'll punch right through them and then you'll still win. Especially if you're managing your CP correctly. Let's say if you're running the archetypes that are now running gas, you'll have lethal, you have amazing damage for Terminators.
I mean, I think the only archetype is gas.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yes, I think as a whole, we don't know where they're going to end up, but they still going to be proper lads. They still have great tools. They still have great utility. They're still great army. They can be great generals, profiles. All that stuff's good, but they took a bunch of nerves. I don't know where they could be. They could drop into gits because on the casual level, we've seen people lose to them as well. I mean, beat them as well because fight and death becomes too much for them overcoming and knobs and power claws and us having our own transports. People can have target, issues and go for Maz when they shouldn't, and then they lose because they are more elite than us and they start just running out of assets. So I still think they're in the lower end of proper lads.
But that's one of those I could see going up easily if the new archetype comes out that just still smashes really hard.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd like to see what happens going forward in the chats, and you guys disagree, argue with me because I like to argue with you. So then we see another. How about something else that we're not sure about? Drakari, something that you're familiar with because you've been test running it a couple times.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put it actually up higher because I think it's gonna actually be. I think it might at the top table maybe. I think a Drakari player could beat you. But for casual people,
Drakari, you have to be really.
You can mess up. I think. I'm sorry. It's the other way around. I'm at top level Orc players can handle this, just fine with the good tools. But if you're like casually and you don't bring certain units like flash gates or something, you'll be having a hard time. Or if you don't have the exact built archetype to just counter them. Let's say you only play against one Drakari player, so you've built in all of your tools now. Like, okay, I know to bring commandos or a snick rat so their beast men can't just run up to me and tag me in turn 1. Oh, I know that they can reactive move away from me, so I built these other shenanigans into me. I brought a bunch of Storm Boys and a Death Killer War Trek, and I brought a bunch of kill rigs because it's hard for them to kill for point value sometimes, and like stuff like that. Then it's okay, a beast snag of boys. It's like if you're not built directly for them and you bring just a general chip archetype list, you might get outmaneuvered.
Yeah, I think with Drakari now, with their paint token change to extra AP, now they're hitting AP3 easily in combat with a lot of units. And AP3 against Orcs just means that they're just kind of falling over outside of the WAAAGH turn.
That's actually why I'm not as high on Meganobs. I was really high on Meganobs, earlier in this edition. Before the data slate, people were like, no, Meganobs up. They started to bring them at the end. Now I'm like, never mind. Put those Meganobs kind of back away. A lot of people are going to have stuff for 3 wound models, and they're going to have a lot more movement shenanigans and quicker. So something like Drakari, you have a lot of lances as well too. They can get lucky and just get effectively popping your transports. You might mess up and not remember that they can move away from you, and their transports keeps moving around. They disembark and countercharge. You couldn't overwatch that unit with your flash kits, so you got nailed. So you don't have any flash kits, so you didn't actually have anything to counter shoot them anyways with their movement shenanigans. They walked up and move blocked you. They have good OC. They could throw haywire mines at you if they know how to run those correctly, and then those do crazy amount of damage to your vehicles. Anything else? They can kill something. So if you have like a Storm Boy unit there or a biker and they punch it, then they can just kill it, then move in any direction with their witches and move block you for your next turn.
A good Drakari general just knows how to do great trades, and if they can do those great trades, they have a good chance in any matchup, which is why I think they're in 50-50 because.
And I put them higher in because of that, because I'm assuming if someone's bringing them to an event, they're pretty good because they enjoy those shenanigans and they've probably gotten decent with them. So I'm going to put them there, even though some people might disagree. But something that I do think people won't disagree with being the proper lads are the Black Templars. What do you feel about Black Templars? Going into Orks, even post Dataslate changes and where they're at.
I think they belong with next to Vanguard as the toughest Marines.
Yeah.
Because those sword brethren hit crazy hard. Those Crusaders, just the Marine 20-man Marine unit with a 5 field of pain. No, thank you. That sounds fun for Orks, honestly. That sounds like I want to fight 20 Marines in a single activation. Let's go.
Yeah, that is what it comes down to. You're like, what? The Meganons, the knobs are getting all happy, dude. Gas, the beast snag bullies, everybody's getting happy.
Field of pain can ruin it though.
Yeah, they can, but it could also just make them overconfident. You know, that's what happens too sometimes with people is they get overconfident with the Orks and they get too close and they allow these charges and these throttles.
Also just the free Meltos, not free, but the availability of Meltos. They're free. On everything,
the crazy characters they have,
Grimaldus and Helbrecht and the Sword Champion or whatever his name is.
Their transports are pretty annoying too when they bring them, but I think when Space Marines go too heavy into that, they end up running out of assets anyway. So most Ork archetypes, I could even go backwards on this. I think it's kind of like this. We'll have tools to be Black Templars. Like a lot of people are still running the double scalpel, smaller scalpel units of a 5-man knob unit and 1 war boss. Those work so good into any kind of power armor things. So I just did. It's a power armor thing. So yeah, I'm gonna keep Black Templar right there. I know some people might disagree because proper gets, you might think, oh, they're a big baddie. I think the changes have happened just enough. The Ork archetypes are still gonna stay strong into them. That I'm not willing to change that. But another one that people might disagree with that's a proper lad is Eldari. So we don't know where this is gonna go, right? So a lot of people hated how you couldn't interact with the Wraith Guard, how they could just be like, no, you're not going to get your charge off on me, Orks, but I'm back in play to get with you.
From the flat 6.
Ooh, they're going now, boy.
Phantasm can really, like, if they're overconfident, they're going to throw a unit away. And it could be the game right there.
Yeah, and they're indirect. People are like, well, I got a buff, da-da-da. Well, Orks, we're just happy that we get our advance back. Right? Yeah. Taking off the advance is definitely more
you can always just counter it by just use 1 CP, boom, doesn't matter.
Use 1 CP, make up for that. Of course, you have to be intelligent enough to disembark properly, right? A lot of people don't disembark preemptively, knowing that their strat can't work when they're inside the transport. So yeah, you have to disembark, knowingly know you might take two of your knobs might die or something, but you're going to get those, mitigate those 2, add +2 to your charge from your from that, and you'll be good to keep moving forward. So Eldar is going to run out of tools. No, actually, they're going to have different tools is a better way to say it. They're going to have their fire dragons. They're going to have a lot more small units that are just constantly dropping all over the field and getting in your way. They're still going to have warp spiders. Warp spiders are still going to have their flamers that can give dev wounds. And they're still going to be able to fire and fade, right? So that's still very, very optimal. Don't sleep on them. A good, great Eldar general is still going to be able to beat you. On the casual level, he might just be like, well, I'm going to bring Avatar still and the Karn still. That archetype
are still great.
They're still great, but I think we beat that archetype more times than not, which is why we're here. Yeah, if you're bringing gas, especially if if that's the archetype, I think that's why they're here in proper lads. But the new ones they have going forward, where they have their transport and then they tell you, oh, you're going to now reroll. It was reroll wounds, and then if the transport targets their unit from the fire dregs. Yeah, and so then you can just crazy anti-damp. Like if you're bringing battle wagons and kill rigs, they're going to start destroying those, disembarking those.
Or the riders, hog riders.
Okay, Squig Hog Riders. They put crazy ones in Squig Hog Riders. So yeah, they're right here. I think there's a good place for them until we see going forward. And what kind of Ork archetypes are you running? You're running 4 trucks? What are you doing? I'd like to know that too. So with that, is that it for the mid tier right now?
I think you put Vanguard in there too. Vanguard Marines, the Ultramarines.
You think their Vanguards are? I don't know. You think so?
They're going to be the first one in biggest lads or the last one in proper lads.
Okay, we'll let chat kind of argue with us about that. I'm going to save them and put them at the bottom at the bigger lads. Bigots, yeah, because I think when you're talking about people taking them to events, those are the people that are trying to win the actual events, right? If they brought the Vanguard, they probably know how to play them exceptionally well, and they can be a big issue for us. So. Well, since we already just mentioned them, let's go put these Ultra Smurf / Vanguard. We're just going to call this the Vanguard detachment for now, the representation of that. The Vanguard detachment within Space Marines can be problematic for players. We understand that it's a very high skill cap to meet that, but that's really when you're going to mostly see that in like a GT level, even an RTT level.
Yeah, the fact that they can basically Tanglefoot, they can add D6 to your charge when they run away, that can ruin a whole game plan on the turn you call it WAAAGH.
in the turn that you really need it to.
Yeah.
The fact that they're going to come in with great firing lines and really throttle damage, they can not only pop your wagon, but they're one of the few armies that can actually shoot all the boys that are inside of it, and they're coming off the board edges to actually get those angles on you. Centurions are still playable enough, and those guys very, very reliably pop them when
Scouts
you pop
are always just annoying.
Scouts are always just very annoying, getting in the way. If they go too heavy in the phobos though and stuff, and they run out of weapons, sure. So this is an exceptional list, an exceptional player. So I could argue an argument if we drop these down there and put Black Templars one ahead, we might have to do that. You know, so chat if you disagree, that's fine. But I think in top level Vanguard versus top level Black Templars, we have more direct tools, and our lists are built more directly for Black Templars than they are for.
I honestly think, looking at this list, I think Drakari should go behind Eldritch because they're not proven. They haven't proven anything.
There we go. Then Black Templars too. I'm gonna put them on too because they're not proven. They're not proven.
They have good. Ideally, there's a lot of armies that look good on paper, but it's hard to actually.
Yeah, Scari's gonna beat everybody, but besides
everyone's
him,
Scary.
Yeah.
Exception to the rule.
Scari's gonna go dog everybody and make us think different about our lives, but you know that's about it. Another one I want to bring up. Let's bring up. Do we want some more Xenos? Oh, how about these Demons of Corn? Where we put these? I just wanted to put these in there.
I think you go by Big Gits for sure.
You want Big Gits?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's true. They're pretty sick.
I've seen. I've watched the table like across them and seen some guy with.
They can run everything,
and I'm
over.
Like, I'm thinking, thank gosh, I didn't get paired into that matchup round 3. Like,
yeah, because what are you gonna do with 8? Because we don't even have great profiles for killing blood crushers.
Up to 7, 4 wounds.
That's
7. You better hope that
you're running a bunch of kill rigs and that you have a bunch of trash to run forward and absorb the charges. And then when you do run off with your Beast Snagger boys, you give them +2 strength and you just run these dudes over with volume. I mean, there are builds that can beat it. But like I said, if you're bringing a straight up normal archetype, you got trucks, you got some knobs, you got some flashes here, you got a Maz, you got a Gaz, you might just underestimate what it takes sometimes to kill down the greater demons, or also kill all the blood crushers and kill everything else they have in the way. They have their stupid dogs. It becomes interesting.
What I've heard from the people who use those is screens are their biggest weakness, but even then it's not that bad because
they're not shooting.
No, they do have the couple cannons who can force battle shock, which are also another thing.
I forgot about those.
those cannons can make you so you can't fight on death.
I mean, they actually bring them because that's their backfield.
Yeah, they bring 3 of those and they make 3 battle shock tests. If you fail one of those 3,
you can't fight on death. That's huge for Orks too. I've been going against more people that are trying to battle shock me constantly. You can't hit, and it worked for Gas. I mean, Maz, it worked for Maz.
Yeah, no minus when the wound, no
twice.
OC. I
twice
stole a tempting target because I just battle shocked Maz right away.
Yep, even though I had other grots and other stuff on the objective, didn't matter. Oh, and then we have a super sticker. I've never seen that. Whoa, let's go, American 95. Shout out for the super sticker. What's up, dude? What's up? He gave it a little high five. You want to say something? What's up, dude? I don't know what was that. Annie's a member. What's up? Annie became a member. Let's go, super sticker. American 95. I appreciate you, American 95. I hope you appreciate my headband. Let's go. And also, I want to say this. 5 sword brother went to Judiciary, kills us cold, my lad. Right? That's super annoying, the Judiciary. That's why you got to fight in death, boy. You're like, what's up, sword brother? I'm coming in here fighting death. Oh, take a trade out with them because they run out of stuff more than us. Thank you. We greatly appreciate you, the American 95. I like that. Straightforward name. I can get with that. So what of our hard matchups? Let's see. Glads, what are you guys thinking? 1, 2, 3. How about leagues? I'm thinking leagues of Voltan. We're talking about 2 very high skilled players bringing their optimal list. What's going to happen here? I think they're maybe a little lower at it. I think our tools might change into being better into them. I think people might start bringing commandos. Regularly see Death Killer Wartreks appearing places. They might become more prevalent because Squig Hog Boys are not. Leagues of Voltan don't really hate Squig Hog Boys. They're like, you're going to walk right into the lane of fire. I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to put +1 and to hit a wound on you, and I'm going to take you out. People are moving away from Squig Hog Boys, meaning, you know, we might actually enjoy
they're pretty better tools heavy
into them. Yeah, so we might go more tools heavy into them. That's also why Mandos are on my list. Nick really that's why you got to take over the board edges. But everybody's kind of, as an Orc player, you should be planning to put pressure into board edges because a lot of people want to use reserves and deep striking and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I think we're going to build our list to have more tools into league. So this might drop into like proper at some point. But currently at their best archetype, and we've seen people at the top level play into them, you know, the games can go either way, but they have some advantages by being able to go, okay, these are your optimal best units. I'm going to kill those. I can actually withstand some of your charges or delay some of your trash units, shoot them with some kind of secondhand fire that I have from all of my unlimited trips, my bunch loads of transports, my bunch loads of bikers that have perfect volume of fire with their strength 6 cannons.
And the Terminators pop out like
and the
80 shots a
Terminators,
unit.
yeah, then they with their blasts, like they're just picking up anything that they want to if they can. So it is what your list is. Like I said, you can have tools. You know, we might actually, more of us might have those tools going forward. Like I said, a Mando, a Defco Wartrike. Maybe you shock jump it to the side of the table where they're going to come up. Cool. But as people are running them now, like a bunch of trucks and nothing that pressures them right away, leagues are like, it's cool, dude. I'll just kill you systematically. Like every game that I've seen that happen, that they're straightforward like that. So then, yeah, with that being said, let's see other card matchups. Now we're getting into some of the toughest lads, as you guys can see right here. Oh, I don't know what we have the white scars. This was the Space Wolf one, pretty much. We already did. Basically. Oh, how about sorry, we missed the.
I think proper lads. You've seen less of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Ironstorm right here, back here,
but
somewhere around.
They run because their list got hit a little bit too.
I think they got hit too hard. Where it's Redemptor Dreadnoughts are always going to be an issue. You can still mess up as a new player.
Scepters, Scouts, Redemptors, Gladiator Reapers are pretty annoying.
At the event level, you can run into a guy who's really, really good with them. But I think I'm gonna put him at the end of proper lads. You can mess up as an Orc player, but if they front load their Redemptors and screen your hardest hitting targets, and you have to put in your least optimal targets into Redemptor, let's say like Knobs, you'll be like, oh, and you won't kill him, and then he'll trade out. So you can still lose that. I'm gonna put him at proper lads because you have to at least understand what they're doing to beat them. You can't just meander into them and thinking you're gonna do nothing. I'm thinking that you're just gonna run them over. So with that, sorry, I almost forgot about those lads. And then White Scars, they're pretty much what we did for Space Wolves. So we have Necrons, Tyranids, Adeptus Custodes, Astra Militarum, Death Guard, and Chaos Knights left in the biggest and the big gets, right? So and I think these are all justified. Now, where we put them, chat, feel free to disagree and argue, but I have some pretty confident opinions here. I'm going to go ahead first and start with, I think Chaos Knights, man.
I think big gets.
Do you think big gets?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure I'm thinking about this because squigs were a really big factor into beating them. And not having those is hard to say. How about I go more towards, I think I'm gonna go with Necrons. Ooh, no, not Necrons. Oh, that's hard to say. I'm in an impasse here, my boys, my lads, my gits. Oh, where do I want to put these? I have them, and the thing is here, guys, I have them written down too. But as we've been talking, I'm like, I don't know. Now I'm questioning in my heart where I want to put them. So let's put Astra Militarum. We'll say as big gets because I'm pretty confident in Astra Militarum. Now, why do I say that? I think Astra Militarum have all the tools to beat us the majority of the time. And I think most of their list archetypes will have that too. But I don't think enough of the Astra Militarum player base, no offense, is skilled enough necessarily or understand target order operations enough or doesn't understand being tagged necessarily enough sometimes to stop the orc pressure and stop us from kind of being all over the place and doing things we don't want to do and running them over and killing them too quick. I think a top level skilled A+ guard player beats orc players the majority of the time because indirect is a huge problem. But what were you going to say something? Just go ahead.
I think Astra Militarum, one of the keys to making the matchup easier is to swarm the board edges because when they do all the redeploying shenanigans, they're an army that loves to die then redeploying your home backfield.
But that's also why I said with leagues, take up the board edges. You're going to see this is a recurring thing with all these armies we're about to talk about. Movement phase. Movement's going to be a huge issue. Yeah, so indirect is the big issue I think with people forget with guard too is they have the correct profiles to not only clear up your grots, but if you put something a little thicker like a biker unit back there, they could pick that up 2 on accident, give you 0 you out on primary, and then like Chris said, they're trying to come in with reserves once they clear out your backfield with indirect and see if they can later in the game. I think this is another thing where if you're running commandos or Death Killer Wartrike, so if they can go up the table and not let them take up actual physical space right away, actually force them to shoot at something they don't feel like shooting and not just choosing their target that turn, becomes a different kind of matchup. And if you could just take up the edges quicker. So if you're building the tools and you're the kind of player that what guard's trying to do, yeah, you can start beating them, but they're still very much a very hard matchup for us.
They require a different play style than regular armies.
Yeah, and you have to be aware of like all their tools and potential. Yeah. If they're just a chill guard player that just plays whatever, dude, then yeah. But don't forget Bulgrin too, right?
Yeah,
Phil Bulgrin
good.
reducing
Toughness 6,
damage
half
into
6 to feel no pain.
to orcs. Yes, they're very good. Reduce anything that can reduce damage and throw an annoying feel no pain becomes a problem. So all that being said, oh, and then you have one more thing. Not the commissar, the group, that group. I mean,
Command Squad.
The Scion Command Squad is crazy. You add Scions to the Command Squad, you get crazy amount of firepower. You get the hit on twos. You get like 8 different special weapons. No, but I'm bringing the hero unit to book.
Oh, Gaunt's Ghost?
Gaunt's Ghost, excuse me. Yeah, Gaunt's Ghost, another very infiltrating, useful
they're
tool.
Almost like a
sniper that can snipe out your banner boy. So it's just hilarious how they become good. And they're like a beast pack. Yeah, they can be a problem. So be aware of all that, guys. They're scouting you. They're doing everything. I'm very adamant that even though Astra Militarum's a not good in the meta faction as the most part, they're a direct hard counter for Orcs sometimes in some list designs and archetypes, right? Another one that's a hard counter based off list archetypes and design is
I think you can do Chaos Knights.
I think Chaos Knights, yeah. I think
you're seeing like 9 different little walkers that throw indirect at you are crazy. 6 brigands, 4 carnivores.
They have
running through walls,
great OC. You're not getting enough point trades out of them. Any unit that's going to kill a nice small knight that's 100 and what
140 for the melee, 170
yeah,
for the
140
shooting.
for the carnivore. So it's just what's killing a knight for 140 points in an orc army?
It's honestly just 2 good data sheets, but those two good data sheets are crazy that they can take 6 of them.
Yep. And so they have moral C, they can shoot you, they can fight you, they can survive your damage and then hit you in return. They can run through terrain so you're not move blocking them. Like let's say like the Iron Storm, they're gonna tank shock if they can. Their Rampager is strong enough to destroy any anvil unit that you decide you might want to hold them on one flank and try to punch through the other side with gas and is lethal. That flank's gonna move too slow to get through it and get where they need to get off. It really comes down to the knight player making a mistake and letting one big orc unit hit multiple knights at once and maximize, either Unbridled Carnage or gas or just the size of the orc unit.
And I think it's important to note too, when we're doing this list, we're assuming GW terrain.
Yeah, we're assuming GW terrain as that's the only thing we have enough.
Not like WDC or player place, because player place isn't real, let's be honest.
Not anymore.
Unless you go to FLG events.
Is this the order you want to peep this into or what?
I
like this.
I think League deserves to be higher.
I think like that. Against Orcs?
I think you put Astra Militarum.
I think like that. No, I think for just direct Orcs, I think as the general Orc player base and at events, yeah. I think you're more likely to lose to Astra Militarum your first go around than Leagues.
And I think Demons, you can put them right there because you're not going to see a Corn Demon list.
As a casual Orc player, you're going to hit with all, or even as a good Orc player, you're going to hit with so much indirect. They're going to clog up the board. You're going to have to run over Bulgrin. They're going to know what to shoot. They're going to just shoot whatever in the lane. They're going to have so much OC. They're going to regen units. Leagues is like, well, once I kill you and you mess up, you kind of just messed up. If I stop your Terminators from coming in the great spot, they're not going to get their grenade shots off. Guard is like, nah, dude, there's a bunch of us. We're constantly doing it the whole game. And there's more of them. And you don't just have to tag them. You have to beat them on OC in the mission too. It's stupid sometimes. And so then, yeah, I would say leave that where that is for the most part.
Funny because they'll throw their guys into you just so you can kill them. Just
exactly.
So they can respawn them.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I would say I would say I'll leave this here. Remember, guys, if we're just saying best good players, if it's 10 people from an event going 10 orcs, 10 knights, 10 guard, 10 Astra Militarum, I think, like I said, the edge goes to the guard player wins 6-7 times, of that, like I said, or if 6 or 7 of the guard players beat those orc players. There's exceptional orc players that are going to know to pressure and tag and move everything correctly, but that requires great understanding of pile-in, consolidates, movement, when to wall, when not to wall, when to pop strats. Did you disembark? Did you place your truck somewhere to get shot and then be shot again when you did get disembarked? Like, those are things I can't account for. All I can account for is what abilities they have, what data sheets they have, what profiles they have, and what that gives them the max potential of their output and their durability and their scoring potential. And all of that is what this tier list represents, right? So keep that going forward. It's not just, well, I'm super good, and one time I tagged this guard guy who messed up and I ran through the back and I tagged this tank. Well, okay, I get it. You're awesome. But some people are not good enough at that level yet, even at RTT, or the guard player is smart enough to move one model over so you couldn't do that, right? So we're just talking about tool by tool, data sheet by data sheet, ability by ability. What you're doing here, Chaos Knights are hard. Their data sheets are hard. You're not getting trades out of them. that fair to say?
Yeah.
For some of these, yeah,
Mhm.
because that's what you have to think about here, guys. At the end, I wanted to make that clear as we get towards the last couple of these factions, because you can already see what's left. And talking about what's left, let's just start off with the Banana Boys. So the Golden Boys, the Banana Boys. We know straight up they're gonna be hard. Anybody that has any understanding of orcs on any understand like covers orcs by any metric, whether they're competitive or casual, they know that this is just hard. Fighting first, reduce damage, feel no pain, double ingress, grav tanks that can reliably pop your battle wagons and your rigs and your trucks, the ability to score reliably on their mission and also hold OC reliably when they need to.
Trajan's being really good.
Small arms fire that actually works reliably with reroll wounds. The Terminators with their blast being able to reroll wounds because you have a leader in your unit. Trajan now for sure being able to ignore Artist Nails. Yeah, there's just a bunch of different things that they have going for them. And Thousand Suns, I just ran in my chat. Sorry, you got me. Custodes are just one of those armies that you need to know how to move well, when to wah, how to draw in the character into the different combat he doesn't want to be a part of. So if you have your knobs hitting on one side of the unit and the blade champions on this side of the unit, you make sure you put the Storm Boys over there in charge so he has to pile into the Storm Boys. These are like little shenanigans that you have to be aware of. Another thing you need to very much be aware of as an orc player going to Custodes is when you fight in death, they cannot reduce your damage because it's a model by model activation, not a unit activation according to the wording, and that's what theirs based off the wording of the unit being activated.
Also means you can't Unbridled Carnage,
and that's also you can't Unbridled Carnage in death either. So be happy that you're fighting with just straight 2 damage though, because that's more of a detriment than anything. Then being able to -1 to hit you two, I mean, that comes down to the Custode player. An experienced one will understand that making you -1 to hit will neuter you. A not experienced person might be thinking I need to just kill you and go into lethal instead. So that also Slingshot can go. Some Custodes lists, though, while I will say this is not generally always going to be the hardest matchup, is when you're a really good player going into just a good Custodes list, they might not have grav tanks. They might have a brick of Terminators. They might not have enough Wardens. So then you know which tools in your orc list can go into which one of these Custodes units. You can actually stage easier because they're not popping your transports. And then this could end up being an easier matchup than you would expect, knowing that they have all of these tools. But then that just means you're an exceptional orc player. You know, straightforward, good people and a good person, which you guys are both equally skilled. He's going to wah when he can. He's going to run into the person. He's going to Unbridled Carnage, and they have a good chance to just tank all of that.
Yeah, I think it's also easier for Custodes player to either undercommit or overcommit because they have so little units. It's easy for them to mess up one flank, and that flank can either get swarmed, or they can spend 2 turns with 2 units doing nothing, and 2 units is half their army. So you can, especially because during the walk turn, you can position your units so much better and faster than Custodes can. It's easy to catch them out of position if you know how to play it well.
Yes, and that goes to me what I've been saying this whole time as we get towards biggest gets. We might want to be considering our movement shenanigans, our infiltrators, our scouts, our extra speed. You know, people are talking about Shock Jump Draxus because 75 points, I can throw him at a side of the table and somewhere and make someone go kill him. So I haven't done it yet. I'm just saying these are things you want to consider because of stuff like Christian just said. You want to put them on the back foot instead of them putting you on the back foot. You want to be able to stage when you can stage because they don't have a lot of units to commit to when they kill you. They're systematically trying to kill you as you come. If you can come hard enough with enough CP because you're running tactical, this is my favorite tactical right now. You should be able to pull this off if they don't have every optimal tool. If they're running a big Terminator brick and multiple 3 units of Wardens and a nice Guardian unit with, proper characters and fighting, you're gonna be up for it because they can put one of those problematic units in every part of the table. If you're running a 4 objective mission, now you're definitely gonna be holding them on each one of those objectives. So this is why I still put this here, even though a lot of people are like, I can beat them, I do this, I get it, but there's a lot of missions that they're gonna have the advantage on too. And if you're not building the most optimal orc archetype, you might start getting into problems here. Like, yeah, just as a whole, like if you don't choose, like I think this is also why you bring gas, really. You're not going to punch through Custodes without gas. So, in my opinion. So, that's just me. Another one that just might be opinion that you guys can disagree with me is the Tyranids. How do you feel about Tyranids, Chris?
I think they have so much like AP3 3 damage blast shooting, or they force battle shocks a lot on the Neurolictors, -1 to hit.
They're freely scoring their secondaries.
Maliceptors, -1 to hit in melee just for existing, -1 to wound if you're less than half strength.
Gargoyles being able to move and move block correctly. Free secondary scoring for them, so they can just spend most of their assets delaying you and playing the mission best they can. Put you on the back foot. I'm mostly discussing the Vanguard onslaught, but even the invasion fleet with being able to choose
spore mines. You can't and advance 6 inches of a spore mine. So they put a spore mine in front of their units. You can't advance within 6 of the units.
That's where, like I keep bringing up, Storm Boys, something like a biker. You need to have something that can run up and activate that mine.
And
blow it up. Then you run past it. But these are things that, look how many things off the top of my head I thought about that are problematic for orcs and Tyranids that we need to be aware of. You're not going to kill, those monsters effectively for their points. Norn, if he's playing Nexus, can armor of contempt, or if he's smart enough, he's going to put spore mines in the way. No, he's going to put spore mines around his Norn and try to slow you down that way, or he's going to put gargoyles in the way with their bodies. So they have a bunch of stuff that if they're as an experienced player, they're going to know to do. They're going to be able to bring in their little power wars from the side and start picking up some of your units, try to overwatch you as you move around the table best they can, because they have the CP to do it. Exocrines pick up Squig Hog Boys perfectly well. It comes down to, do we have a bunch of Mazrogs and Beast Snagger Boys and stuff? They don't really kill too bad. BB spots on Squigglers, they don't kill too well. But yeah, so Tyranids have multiple plays when they can play Nexus with Norn spam, which becomes a problem for the most part. They can play and Vanguard. They can put a Norn in there. Vanguard, they put you on the back foot as an orc and really slow you in your own deployment zone, stop you if you have trucks, especially if you're not someone who has infiltrators, like different units we were talking about. And then they have the proper profiles between volume of their blast from their shooting, their flat damage 3 from their monster fighting and shooting, to they just do just enough of, oops, we actually can kill you, unlike other armies that we can't kill. They can actually kill orcs with their profiles. Normally, they're like, ow, our damage output isn't good. Against orcs, they're like, oh, you died? Oh, that's cool. They're always excited that they could kill you. You don't have invulge or anything. You have what? 5 up, 6 up save? That's cool. So, whatever. I think, this can be I think Custodes are in the back of here. Because Custodes, I think if I go into let's say a good Custode player, could I beat him? Yeah, I think a lot of time I could beat him. If I go into an elite Custode player who he just plays them all the time and is trying to place at events constantly with them, he's going to understand what I'm trying to do to him, and he should be a hard matchup. So I'm just putting in respect if I was to play myself as Custodes. So then we have the last two that I'm pretty confident in, but let's go with the Krons. I think Krons, if you're talking about Hypercrypt, I think Hypercrypt still becomes here for the most part. Most people aren't going to be too proficient with the movement shenanigans they can get. They can edge you out at the end of the game. Going second for them is actually kind of nice in some ways.
It's way better.
Closing the distance on them is going to be difficult for some players, especially because they can like shoot and move with their models and get in your way. Catans, you only have certain profiles and models and combos that can actually reliably take down Catans that are actually kind of susceptible to Necron small arms fire as well itself, or other army small arms fire too. So it becomes weird like that. They don't reliably pop transports too well. So that's something that we have in our favor. Having a bunch of grots on the table to screen out is very good in their favor, in our favor.
We have to do it right though.
But that's why I'm saying I can't in good nature put it down here in proper lads, because I feel like I'm a proper lad and I can beat them. I'm talking about when we're going across the table and I take 10 good players and 10 good players, the Necrons have all the tools to really beat the orc player, outscore them, even if the game is very close. They edge it out in the end. And then that's if they, if they have their monolith and they're running that big old stupid construct that can do crazy damage and start killing some of your guys by putting a construct 3 inches away so you can't stop him, and he pops your wagons and your trucks and everything and kills the knobs inside. Knobs bounce off Catans. It's just like everything you want to use isn't really great, and even Squigs start become a liability because the shenanigans of this army allows them to delay Squigs enough that they should still be able to win and score and play correctly, and they want to systematically shoot and kill your scoring unit. So I just put a lot of respect into the Necron players that are taking these 2 events, and I assume they're good. If it's someone who's not doing target priority correctly and they haven't mastered the shenanigans, sure, they can drop all the way off. But that's the same thing as saying, what if an orc person took all buggies to an event and bikers, and then or if he took a bunch of kill rigs but didn't understand how to utilize staying within fight phase range, or didn't stay within Gaz's lethal range. It's like there's so many things that we can't account for that matter a lot, but I'm just going to put the benefit of the doubt that the Necron player plays optimally and uses his tools professionally.
And even when you have a good game plan versus Necrons, there's so many times as someone who's played Necrons, these guys have made good game plans, They do all their game plans. They'd say, I just need to kill Catan, then I win the game. Then they don't kill the Catan. They're like, huh, well, that was GG's then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess he's just in a heal.
It
And he's
happened
gonna be
like
good now.
twice. I went to an RT. It happened like twice over the weekend. They're like, if I just kill this Catan or 2, I win this game. But if I fail this right here, my army is just decimated.
And then he just rolls a couple 5-ups, and he's like,
Yep,
"Oh, I guess
and
he
then
didn't."
it's like that just didn't happen.
Oh.
So even when that 4-up half damage 4-up 5-up is obnoxious, it shouldn't exist for that price profile. It's more cheaper than a Norn, but like 30% more durable. It's silly.
They're
it's
so
not
tiny,
real.
so you can't even get as many bodies into them as you want. You know, it's so hilarious how obnoxious these are.
And they're supposed to be balanced because they're 6-inch movement, but that's a lie. That's fake news because they just redeploy.
Yeah, exactly. So here's my favorite. The hardest matchup for the Orks currently is Death Guard, because I think multiple of their archetypes that they're running right now go great into Orks. And I think they do perfectly well into Orks. Some things that we can mention now, what they do is their Death Guard Terminators having the Sorcerers put in there. I'm sorry. The Death Shroud Terminators having the Sorcerers put in there with the ability to reduce damage on a 2-up in melee is very, very good for them. Compounding that with -1 weapon skill, -1 ballistic skill is great. Having Typhus in their unit can make a -1 to hit, so then you are -2 to hit, so now they're hitting
brutal.
on 5s. Mortarion can reduce to make it so you can't hard as nails. If they have Plague Burst Crawlers, they can indirect you and ignore the indirect penalty from having Mortarion near them if you choose to stay near them. They have their Rhino spam still, where they can still bring at least 2 bricks of 10 or their max unit of Plague Marines, and then give them 2 different characters that can give them crit 5, so they're like lethals. They can throw free grenades at you and start picking up knobs and awkward flash gets. They can throw those little plague drones at you that are like 90 points and super durable that you're not gonna be able to kill them, and they put you on the back foot and cause you to commit something that can't actually kill them. They have Nurglings that are going to be on their, if they're on their list for sure, that they can possibly, if they go first, get in your way and tag your truck if you're not clean and optimal as an Ork player, or if they're smart, they'll put them in a building behind their Terminators, and when you countercharge your Terminators, you're -2 to hit now, if they're playing them that way.
Don't forget all the anti-infantry flamers. So even on the Overwatch, that's just going to eat you up too.
Yeah, the anti-infantry.
Like a single Death Shroud unit, even if it's 3-man, it's 4d6 flamers plus the character usually.
And you just reminded me of the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer also in the unit can once per game, he can Super Saiyan to damage 3, -2, strength 8.
I just had him up.
Yeah, it's 2d6, strength 8, -2, flat 3 damage once per game. And he just shoots that at you as well. So then he can just start picking up crazy stuff too. So he's hilarious. And then you have the Fight First Plague Marines also. So they have the character that allows them to fight first. What else am I missing? And then you have the Brigands that they can still fit on their list because they brought Nurglings, so they can make it. And then the Brigands are also getting the -1 toughness, so they're dropping your toughness anything in range. So that same plague drone that you committed to and you didn't kill, or you decided you were just trying to ignore, he just went and sat right next to you, and he kind of pooped on you a little bit and made you less tough. And then now the Brigand shot you a little bit, and then so maybe an indirect tank hits you, or maybe Mortarion's running right at you, and then there's some Death Shroud that overwatched your counter-charging unit, or some Nurglings that got in the way and compounded, so it's -2 to hit because you didn't bring flash kits. That's not even they didn't even talk their strats. We didn't even got there. So I think when you're talking about
sticky objectives, too.
Sticky objectives. So I think Death Guard, our win rate into Death Guard is going to plummet, in my opinion. I would see us sitting at like a 37, probably 5 weeks from now. So I think I'm very confident that Death Guard's our hardest matchup. I'm very confident Custodes can even drop to big gets if people don't bring the correct archetypes, because some people just don't grab tanks, don't want to bring all those Terminators because other matchups, whatever it may be. I could easily see Chaos Knights swapping to up here because there's more. I feel like actually doing this because I think Chaos Knights actually bring the correct archetype more times than not.
It's hard for Chaos Knights to make a bad list.
Yeah, so then I'm going to drop this by 1 just by talking to you guys. And I still think Guard. No, I think Custodes is still a little harder than Guard.
The two I think that can kind of shift the most potentially, I think, is the Drakari and Eldar, depending on how they adjust with their new attachment and new changes. They could easily go up or down a little bit for sure.
So this is a pretty confident tier list here. I'm going to take a look at chat, let you guys kind of chew on this for a second, argue with me, disagree with me, maybe if you want some internal changes. But let's look at this again real quick, Chris, starting with the runts. Does any of this want to change? We took Mono Khorne out because that's the one exception to the Chaos Demons. Other than that, the orders of this look correct too. Thousand Sons go a little harder there.
I mean, my heart says World Eaters should be gets, but it's fine.
It's
a very, very hard matchup for World Eaters.
I think
you
think you're fine with them, but most people aren't bringing brigands and other stuff to offset the difference.
Yeah, the classic 100% World Eater list is going to be hard because they're never popping transports before they need to.
Nope.
Never in the right timing.
Nope. They're just dying.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say no, and then for Adeptus Mechanicus and Deathwatch, it's one of those things, like we said, I think the Deathwatch player you're just not going to see, just like the Adeptus Mechanicus person, but the Deathwatch player is most likely going to bring the proper tools, and the Mechanicus person is just going to bring what they have most of the time.
It just depends if the Mechanicus person has the proper wallet, then they get the proper tools.
Yeah.
If they have the proper wallet,
then it's like, okay, you got a game, you got some real stuff going on, but
if they just pop together some common patrols or some big, like,
dude, we live in a pretty popular area that plays 40k, and we don't even see proper meta AdMech list. So maybe if you're playing TTS and they make the correct okay, then yeah, it's different. But I'm just saying, like, on the table,
like, we see proper everything, like triple Norn, blah 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 blah, like anything that's spammed that can be spammed, we see
anything list that we talk about besides
proper AdMech.
Yeah, and
I see Triptide with yeah, I see all
immediately that. Anything you can see in the meta immediately within 1 week, it's everywhere all over the tables. You look around, you're like, every meta list I've ever talked about is on every table at this event. Again,
except for AdMech.
So and then I think for Space Marine, like you said, a straight up Gladius or any version of Space Marine that's building Gladius, I think it's just right around here. I think they just run out of steam. Tau, I respect them enough if they're gonna have just a lot of stuff. And if you just run out into the open as an Ork player, just bring enough stuff that has to run into the open, they might just get you by slowing you down with all the stuff they have, because now they have more small arms fire. They still have 4 damage. They're not putting all their investment in just one suit unit that's running around trying to kill everything. So they'll have more activations, more slowing down screens, more mission scoring, and then they might even have counter charges if you're watching this enough in the future. So I'm just thinking gets. Do we want to switch anything within this proper lads internally?
See what
chat. If you guys disagree, let me see what you guys are saying, because I'm reading chat now. So you guys got something to say, let me know. Nids with Norn Emissary is a pain to take off a point. Yeah, super of a pain, dude, especially if the person was smart enough to put all the proper things in the way. So, like gargoyles, all of these hard matches can be solved by 2 gargantuan squig-offs. There we go. All right, stream's over. That's all we need. Everybody get 2 gargantuan squig-offs and just run everybody over. Whoa, let's go.
It doesn't count if they're not force rolls. If you don't have 2 force roll ones, it doesn't count.
There you go, right here.
AdMech players, poor players, just sell your mansion. Exactly. I don't know if one mansion's enough.
Crew are the unknown. Yeah, very much so. They are an unknown. They can end up just being so trash and just fun, or they could be great. Lancers suck to go against too, for sure. Bolgrons, yeah, you guys have been talking about Bolgrons for a while, right? He said, later 2-day wall, I have made it here on time. If I had 18 dev copters, whoa, that's what I'm talking about.
Wait, what's the unit size for that? They're just 3-man units now. Are they stuck at 3? Or they can go 3.
You said why bring Gaz is critical into. No, he's not critical, and only into that matchup where they're bringing the Avatar and Incarn.
I think if you're going, I think if you want to go to that tangent, I think any event.
He was just saying Gaz as a whole is critical to bring, and then if you are going into the Avatar version of Eldari, then he becomes critical in that matchup. That's what I meant.
Especially when they make the Avatar -1 to wound.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that. But against Eldar as a whole, I mean, if they're just running a bunch of small units, that might not be the case. 5 Sword Brother, would you just hear? Oh, we just said that. All right, cool. Well, if any of you guys disagree with me, let me know. Right here. Death Guard is definitely a problem. I can't deal with the Termi bricks. Yeah, for sure, dude. They're super big problem. That's why I'm like, Gaz, you're automatically on my list. Dudes that are +1 to hit, you're automatically on my list. I'll tell you guys right now what I'm trying to use. I'm experimenting with using a 20-man unit of Beast Snagger Boys to just run over things. Here's the thing, though. The Death Shroud unit can overwatch them with their flamers and kill just enough of them that you still bounce with them, too. Custodes might actually get lucky in those ways, too. You can't get enough models on them to kill them. And then if you mess up with Necrons, they can overwatch you a little bit too, just enough, and kill enough of it. So it's like, man, even the paper units that when they do get there, when you're practically putting them on the table, it just makes one minor mistake and you could just end up throwing that off the board. So we're gonna have to come up with good abilities to beat, with good combos and ways to beat them. And I think playing the mission, going for enemy scoring units, and just having more stuff on the table might become the better archetype, right? Like I said, 4 trucks might be the way to go. I do enjoy using wagons and kill rigs and everything like that, but too many of our, let's say, big get matchups in here don't hate don't hate that enough for me to
They can eat wagons.
bring it all the time. Yeah, they can either eat wagons or delay wagons or whatever it may be. So yeah, I just am a firm believer that we're going to use gas, and even with using gas, you might just bring a bunch of units for a lot of activations and just a couple missile units that can kill when they need on the wall, and then everybody else is just playing.
And I feel
I always bring gas. He hits hard where you need it. Yeah.
See, you say that, and I feel like honestly, when I say gas mandatory, what I mean to say is Makari's
There,
mandatory.
Makari matters.
The lethal aura is too good to leave at home. That reminds me of like how the Necron Index had the 12-inch for the reanimator. I could see Makari's aura getting shrunken when the Codex comes out.
Keep it 12 inches, GW. Don't be messing with me. And we got 5 gifted wall memberships. Whoa, let's go. So ECOP is giving us the memberships. We appreciate you. Get any of you gets in here like Mark Bruce that are looking like some oomies. Let me get you guys collected. If you can, daggers, you might be under a business kind of settings, by the way, so you might need to switch that out, so you know. And your settings so you can actually collect the membership.
What do you see?
So collect the membership. I mean, we have to go over it again on Discord. But collect the membership you get. Greatly appreciate you, ECOP, because you're amazing, very generous from you all the time. Hopefully you guys think our tier list is moderately acceptable or relative. What is this? Chris?
So do you mean Makari's dead, or you mean the unit activating is dead? Because if the unit activating is dead, they're still on the table until they get pulled away in the strategy, so they're still in range of Makari.
Yeah, exactly. So it works. Oh, and we got a $10 super chat. Makari stands represent. Whoa, let's go. Yeah, Makari is sick. Yeah, Makari where it needs to be. Oh, he said no if Makari died. If Makari died.
Makari's only if you're talking about if Makari died in that activation with Gaz, then they would get the fight on death. Like if Gaz died and Makari died in the same activation, Gaz would still have it.
Fun on death. That's what he said.
That would hit the activation. But if Makari died and then he's just dead, then there's no aura to.
Yeah, it would have to be everything happening at once.
You'd have to have Makari die while Gaz died.
Yeah, so that's a funny question, but no. And we still appreciate just $10 super chat. 12 inches is too much. No, it's not, dude. It's proper. Our wall turn is literally one ability. What do you mean too big? It should be that big. I always thought of getting knights. Those are hard as hell right now.
Finding war dogs and like armatures is always impossible. Like you have to find secondhand or just like scan the websites every week because those things are always out of stock. Always.
I mean, they haven't even had the new models out for that long, relatively. So people just straight up got them right away, and they've been out of stock ever since. So a lot of the time, people already owned a lot of them, and then they just added as they could. When you're seeing that as guys at the events, you know. Let's see. He said, Gaz, Makari, and his knobs getting murder hoboed, but they orcs never beaten. Okay, if they're getting
it would still work while they're but hopefully that doesn't all happen in one activation because that would be super sad.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate you, Gits, Jay-Hoon, ECOP. We appreciate you guys giving them super chats. The American 95.
Every time I'm on this thing, Ikapu has a new way.
Yeah, that's true. Ikapu, ECOP. I've been messing up every time. Gifted Joel with the memberships. We appreciate you guys. Anybody that donated, super chatted, commented, left a like. You guys are awesome. And collecting those memberships. Great job. Mark Bruce got one. Let's go. Mark Bruce got his membership. Let's go. Mark Bruce has been around for such a long time. I'm glad you finally joined the Great WAAAGH and became a little runt. GW across the street has him. We just got him in yesterday. Oh, well, you better start running up in there, boy. Start collecting. Let's go, ECOP. There you go. Giving up. He says, okay, this is how he says his name, Chris.
No, I don't think. I think he made funny because you said it wrong like that.
Oh, La Yuccapo.
No, because you added a Y and there's no Y in there.
Okay, well, ECOP, whatever, dude.
Well, I mean,
I'm illiterate. What are you talking about, dude? I'm our boy. Let's go. Oh, who said I read? Who said I read, dude? You tripping? Join the February WOG online TTS. Or games like, oh, and I'm bringing the Snazway. Give me the wall power. There we go. The boss is happy about that. Let's go. Oh, he's saying
okay.
Yes.
The fact that he says
so, he said yes. Yes, you're making fun of me, or yes, that's how you say it.
It might because it makes me think he's Spanish or some Hispanic because he says like ha 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 with
because he says ja ha ja ja ha.
Yeah. So maybe the I mean he doesn't have an L in his name, so that makes sense.
Dime tu nombre. Wait, what's your actual name? Tell me in Discord. Guessing all the time. We've been guessing for months. All right. Loyakap. I don't know how to name this, dude. All right, that's hilarious. I like how everybody in chat's probably like, what's wrong with these guys? You can't figure out one dude's name after all this time.
You try it. Yeah, you try it in chat.
Yeah. You can use the Blackhawk model as war boss as well, since they are always out of stock. I think they came in stock recently, but yeah, he's been out of stock for a hot
It's a sad that new guy's
minute.
legend that they just announced.
It's super
The
unfortunate
cool rules.
because these are his cool rules. Gonna probably pre-order Uftak tomorrow and the big Daka. Saw his rules today, and he looks fun. Deep strike and rerolls against Titanic in combat with dev wounds and precision shock rifle. Yeah, it's only him, sadly, that it doesn't like a reroll. I mean, I know he's legends anyways. I'm just saying, like, it'd be cool if he's leading a unit of knobs and then they reroll wounds into Titanic, but it says model, so it's just him. But the deep strike's freaking amazing. If you can get knobs of deep strike, I really hope GW makes him like an actual model. And I'm really sick of seeing 4 attacks, strength 10, -2, 2 damage on my orc profile. Stop doing that, GW. I need my 5 attacks. I need you to get me out of strength 10 up to strength 11 at least, you weirdos. And I need my AP, because it'll be a 2, but I need a damage 3 somewhere in my book. I'm sick of seeing this damage 2. You gave me a Snaz Hammer and you gave me the same profile as a Power Claw. Are you guys tripping? You guys are tripping, dude. I see. I'm offended by that. I was holding that in for a long time.
Anything in the orc book have 3 damage?
My goodness.
Mods, right?
Killer cans, bro.
Oh, that's not real.
My
but yeah.
goodness, yeah.
Or
Oh,
what
here it
about Dread, whatever they call them, the dreads? Kill War Dreads. What are they? Death Dreads.
Hey, shut up. Death Dreads. Here you got it.
Okay. I'm Italian, but I've been living in Panama for the last 11 years. You pronounce it almost correctly. Okay, so Jacopo.
Yeah, dude, Jacopo. Yeah, see, that I was just you thought I was just dumb. You know, you be right, but no, that was correct. Jacopo. There we go in Panama. Okay, dude, what's up? Panama, that's dope.
That's crazy.
That's hilarious, dude. Don't worry, Americans respect my name all the time. Every bloody time I get a mail from the States. I'm gonna spell it wrong too if you tell me in Discord. Niles. Yeah, we would spell it yeah, not that way.
That looks wrong. I'm just looking at it. Looks wrong.
Yeah, it looks wrong. I feel like you just typoed me, dude. Why are you confusing me, dude? All right, yeah. And then we got this Naswagon meta coming. No, we don't. But I appreciate anybody that uses the buggies. Like I said, I actually do think there's a way that you could fit a Shaksham Drex on your list to take board edges if you have to. Let's say you don't own commandos, you don't feel like buying them. I know it doesn't stop the infiltration issue, but if you go first, you can just throw yourself off the table very quickly and stop that. You can get Death Killer War Trike. You can use your Weird Boy in a couple way, maybe put 10 boys with them because you have to. Anything like that where you're just like, I'm just going to take up space because I'm tired of my guard friend just moving up the field and then taking this edge and just shooting me from every direction. You might need to consider those tools, which is why using a buggy might be fun. And if you're going into like Drakari or Death Guard, you might just be like, hey, I'm going to bring buggies and make you -1 to hit too. So we all just floundering. I don't know, but it's hilarious. And I'm glad someone loves the commandos because commandos always be like, are we using them? Are we liking them? Are we keeping them?
I think you would see those everywhere if they were just 5-man units. If they're 5-man units, I think they'd be all.
If they're 5-man units, they'd be everywhere. If they were just cheaper by like 5 points, they'd be everywhere. Or 10 points, I think they'd be on more lists too. 10 points, like 125.
Funny, every list you make, you're like, damn, if I had an extra 10 points, I'd throw commandos in here.
Yeah, that happens all the time. So, all right, guys. Well, this is where our tier list ended. This is where we at. If you disagree with us, put it in the chat. I'm willing to argue with you at all times, at any time. Go ahead and go into Discord and get with me too.
Literally,
I appreciate you kids all the time. But there's always one thing to keep in mind. It's don't cross a wall because we not get TFL. Whoa!